And I do want to say, so I did get a nice question of someone asking about, I got a couple people asking about sewing patterns and things like copyright designs and that kind of thing. And I'm not, like, that's not something I really asked Rob about, and I'm not really sure if that's a topic he would really be able to speak to, so I would have to see. But I get what you're saying is, like, you get a couple situations, it's like, everyone's kind of heard that fashion designs and, like, clothing items and things like that are not able to be, have a copyright on them. But as we all know, the actual pattern does. So, like, if you buy a sewing pattern, the finished item you make can't really have a copyright on it from the pattern designer, but the actual pattern itself often does. You know, you can't, like, redistribute the pattern. You can't reproduce it and resell it. You can't share it with people. So if you do buy, like, say, a McCall's sewing pattern, that is, like, the pattern itself has a copyright, but the item of clothing doesn't. And that's also why you see so many you see so much copying going on in fashion design. You know what I'm saying? So there's that going on. So I know people have questions about that, and also about, like, the indie pattern designers. I did see a question about, like, when a pattern designer has, like, a lot of, like, stipulations with buying the pattern, such as, you know, whether or not you can sell finished items with it. Do you have to credit, you know, they'll ask for credit. They'll say you can't, you know, some of them say you can't make, you know, content showing their techniques or whatever. Like, you do see some of those patterns, and you're like, that seems like kind of a lot of demands for, like, a pattern. You know, so I get it. Like, I totally get it. And you also see this whole thing where you'll see two different designers. They could be, like, a sewing designer, a knitting designer, a quilt designer. And you do often see people accusing the other of copying another and threatening somebody else. And it's like, can they really do anything about it if they're you know, if, like, two crochet patterns are similar, or if two dress patterns are similar, you know? And it seems like, again, I'm not an attorney. It does seem like with the, like, two designers having to come up with similar items, I doubt anything could really be done. Like, legally, I doubt really, you know, either of them would be successful trying to, like, take the other one down. Just my opinion. That being said, like, you know, there are people who do blatantly copy somebody else, and that's, like, not really cool. And it also comes down to, like, what can you do about it? Like, could you sue them? In a lot of these situations, like, within the fashion world, a lot of these people, like, a lot of fashion houses don't really do anything with, like, kind of similar dupes, you know, because, like, you know, it's like, whatever, you know, as long as we got our stuff out for Fashion Week and we're first, we don't really care. And you really don't see a ton of that, it seems like, within the fashion world, because, you know, it does seem like it's hard for an actual design of something, unless you have, like, a patent or something, to be have copyright protection. And clothing seems particularly difficult. Plus, a lot of the people who copy fashion designs are overseas, so that's also very difficult to enforce, because they are, you know, not in the same country. They're not under the same laws that we are here in the United States, so it's pretty difficult to do that as well. So there's a lot of stuff that I think is kind of murky legally. And I'll tell you my opinion about the indie pattern designers that seem to want to, like, police every single little thing about the pattern. They want to tell you if you can sell them, how much you can sell them. I saw one posted on, like, the Craft Snark Reddit, and this pattern designer was trying to dictate how much makers sold their finished items for. They're like, if you sell these, you have to sell these for, like, a fair price. And I was like, I feel like that's kind of going overboard. Like, I do think that some of these, particularly the indie pattern designers, are going to, like, great extreme lengths to police how people use their pattern. You know, in my opinion, it is a little bit absurd. Just, you know, And, I'll be real with you. Okay, as far as selling stuff from a pattern, like, all right, so, and then you get the big sewing pattern companies like the McCalls, like, Butterick and stuff. Like, all right, I don't personally do like commissioned, I'll sew for you kind of stuff. But if I was making like a dress for somebody, like they wanted to commission me to make a dress, again, I actually, if they wanted a McCall's dress, yeah, if you buy the pattern, you could make it for them and, on like a small scale. You wouldn't try to, have there be a whole clothing line or anything. But if I was doing one-offs, I think it's okay if you buy like, you buy the pattern for that like one thing, or like if I was buying like a McCall's pattern, and I wanted to make it a couple times for myself, make it as a gift, I think that's okay. You're not selling it. You're just making it as like a gift for somebody and you're only using the one pattern. Like I wouldn't really be too worried about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but again, I wouldn't try to like take a McCall's pattern and start producing them and selling them online in like large quantities. That's just not something I would do without getting the license for that. Like, even if there's a technicality that would allow you to do that legally, I just wouldn't do that personally because I think that's kind of shitty. Ethically, I just wouldn't feel comfortable with that. And the other thing I would like to say about like the indie pattern designers is, I just, like if I see a pattern, like a sewing pattern or any type of other pattern, and the designer had like all of the, like a laundry list of stipulations, and they were trying to like control how I use the pattern if I couldn't post on social media about it, I wouldn't buy the pattern. I would not support that designer. I do think that's kind of crazy. And I'm like, what? Like, it does seem like it's like overkill, and I just wouldn't purchase patterns from that person. In fact, I have actually, because I often share stuff I'm making or do videos about what I'm making on the Sewing Report, if I see a pattern designer has like, usage rules and they say you can't like show your, like I've seen stuff on patterns where it says like, you can't show any of the pattern pieces on, like you can't publish any or show any of the pattern pieces like in photographs or social media content. You can't show any of the making process. Like you can't, show my techniques in, content. Look, I'm a content creator. I'm just not buying the pattern. There are plenty of other indie pattern designers. I'm just going to go to it. I'm just going to just buy something from another indie pattern designer that is not being as like, strict with what they want me to do with it. Like, I don't personally like designers that try to police every little thing you do, especially when you're paying for the pattern. That does rub me the wrong way. But my solution is just to not purchase from that person. You don't have to purchase the pattern. And if I see someone kind of going like kind of way off the rails with like all of the micromanaging and trying to police what people do with the pattern they purchased, like that doesn't work for me. I'm just not going to purchase it, and you know what? Like, I feel like that's kind of shorted on their side, like kind of short-sighted on their part because look, the Sewing Report is 100,000+ subscriber channel. They could probably get some pretty good publicity out of it if, and again, I don't ask people for free patterns or anything. They would probably get some pretty good sales if I were to make something using their pattern. And I do try to be respectful. Like I don't show like the, like if there's like instructions, I don't show those. And I try to be, and here's my thing too. Like, how many people could recreate a pattern piece just by like seeing it in a video? Like and if they can, that kind of means it's basic enough where like you don't even need a pattern. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody does have like that level of like absurd policies on how you can use the pattern, I'm just going to stay away from that designer. Like, and again, if you are a pattern designer, I do hope you see how you may be like kind of shooting yourself in the foot by driving people like me away from being a customer or showing, you know, or highlighting, featuring your pattern in a video, because, you know, it's like you could be getting more sales from someone with a decent sized following making and, you know, raving about your pattern and how cool it is than you would by having that level of restrictions. So, you know, to the people that are like wondering about that, if you see a pattern designer that wants to police every little thing about what you do with it, don't buy it. Go to another pattern. And the other thing I would say too is if you're trying to copy patterns to sell them, like if you're trying to copy somebody else's design to sell finished items yourself, that's kind of crappy. Like, come up with your own thing then. Don't, like, I feel like people are trying to find ways to like skirt around, you know, to try to like kind of make a quick buck or whatever. Don't copy other people. You know, if you come up with it yourself, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I think about it. But if I do see a pattern designer that's like got like a whole novel full of things you can't do, I do not purchase. I just do not purchase. All right. That's been one of my rants. I'm also going to have probably another one in this show. But I'm just like, yeah, that's just what I think about the whole like indie pattern designers with all of the rules. That sounds similar to the papercraft company. Stamp companies have angel policies that, angel policies that dictate selling of stuff made with their stamps. I've been curious how that legally works. And it's like, you do want to know how much of that is actually legal or not. But there's also like the ethics about it too. It's like, even if you legally can do something, you know, like, that doesn't always mean you should. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough, yeah.